Ladies and gentlemen, you know what's funny? People say, show me your friends and I'll tell you who you are. But I say, show me your group chat and I'll tell you your future. Because if your group's last 5 messages are memes, gossip, and bro, I'm so tired, then congratulations, you've already guessed your next 5 years. Ladies and gentlemen, the truth hurts, but your group shapes your future quietly, like background music. You don't even notice it, but it's controlling the beat of your life. I used to hang out with people who thought working hard was a sickness. If you started studying, they'd say, bro, relax, life is short. If you said you wanted to save money, they'd say, what's the point? We'll all die anyway. These people could find bad things in a sunrise. And the funny part, they weren't bad people, they were just okay with it. Okay with being average, okay with complaining, okay with doing nothing. And if you sit there long enough, you start picking up their habits like you catch a cold, because habits spread easily. You hang around 5 complainers, you become the 6th. You hang around 5 hard workers, you start waking up early without even knowing it. You don't choose to change, you just soak it up. I remember one of my friends, we used to joke that his alarm clock was no good because no matter what time it rang, he'd still wake up at noon. And guess what? Slowly, I started waking up later too. Not because I wanted to, but because that was normal in my group. That's the scary thing, when the wrong habits become normal, when being poor becomes a joke, when putting things off becomes your personality, when being lazy becomes your way of life. Then one day, I met a guy, totally different. No fancy clothes, no big talk, just focused. We'd meet, and instead of gossip, he'd talk about goals, books, new ideas, side jobs. At first I thought, bro, chill. Why are you so serious all the time? But after a few weeks, I started noticing something strange. I couldn't go back to my old group. Suddenly, their jokes didn't feel funny anymore. Their talks felt small. And I realized that's growth. When you stop laughing at the things that used to waste your time. Look around you. If your group cheers your excuses more than your progress, you're not in a group, you're in a cage. Your friends can either lift you up or hold you down, and most people don't even know which one they're holding on to. You ever see those groups where one person says, let's start something, and the rest go, you will see? That's how dreams die, not from failing, but from slow put-downs. A small no every day until you stop trying. I'm not saying you need to cut everyone off. I'm saying make the talks better. If your group chat never talks about goals, money, growth, or learning, then maybe it's time to start a new one. Because you don't need to find smarter friends. You just need to find friends who want to get smarter. You know, I once realized something wild. People don't change you straight up. They just make things normal around you. If your group spends every weekend partying, it becomes normal. If they spend it reading, working, learning, that becomes normal too. The only difference is what your group calls fun. And that's dangerous, because your normal decides your next 10 years. I had a friend once who said, bro, money isn't everything. And I said, yeah, but being broke isn't everything either. He used to make fun of people saving money, called them cheap. Meanwhile, his way of planning money was hoping for sales. It's funny, we say we want success, but we hang around people who hate hard work. We want a rich person's mindset, but we spend 4 hours a day talking to people who don't even think it's possible. That's like wanting to lose weight while living in a donut store. You see, success doesn't come from just feeling pumped up. It comes from your surroundings. Put a pumped-up person in a lazy group, and he'll slow down. Put a lazy person in a focus group, and he'll start changing. The group wins every time. I once heard a story about 2 childhood friends. One became a millionaire. The other stayed stuck. When they met years later, the successful one said, we both had dreams. The only difference is I stayed around people who believed in theirs. That hit me hard, because sometimes your dream doesn't fail. It just gets choked in the wrong company. You ever notice how your energy changes depending on who you talk to? There's that one friend. You talk for 10 minutes and you're ready to take over the world. Then there's the other 10 minutes with them and you need a nap. Same time, different result. That's not by chance, that's energy passing over. Even your words change. Start hanging out with people who complain a lot, you'll start saying, it's not my fault, more. Hang with people who take charge, you'll start saying, I'll fix it. It's that quiet shift that decides your success. And you know what's funny? Sometimes you think you're strong enough to stay the same no matter what. But nobody is safe from energy. Even the sun looks smaller when surrounded by clouds. So ladies and gentlemen, if you ever feel like your life is stuck, don't just ask, what am I doing wrong? Ask, who am I doing it with? Because maybe the problem isn't your dream, it's your group chat. You know what's funny? Most people don't realize they're becoming their group until it's too late. You start talking like them, joking like them, even dreaming like them. You think you're being yourself, but actually you're becoming a mix of your 5 closest people. One day you say, I want to start a business. Your group laughs. Haha, bro, you can't even wake up on time. You laugh with them, but a small part of your dream dies right there. That's how strong energy is. It doesn't kill you fast. It just slowly takes your belief. And then there's the opposite kind of group, the one that scares you a little. You know the friend who's already doing things? You meet them and start questioning your whole life. They'll say, I just started something new. And you're sitting there thinking, I just started Netflix last night. But those are the friends that wake you up. They make you uneasy in the best way. Because being around people who are ahead of you doesn't make you small. It stretches you. They make you see how much more you can do without even saying a word. I remember when one of my friends got serious about fitness. Every time we'd hang out, he'd order grilled chicken and water, and I'd be there with my burger and Coke, trying to look sure like, yeah, bro, I'm building muscle. But deep down, I knew I was just making excuses. After a few weeks, I started eating better, not because he made me, but because I couldn't keep being the only lazy one in the room. That's the magic of a good group. They don't change you by force, they change you by showing the way. They make you level up in a natural way, without judging, without pushing too hard. And let's be real, sometimes the people closest to us are not bad. They just don't have the same drive. They're okay where they are, and that's fine. But if you want a different life, you can't keep going at their speed. It's like being in a car with friends going nowhere. They're laughing, music's playing, everyone's relaxed, but deep down, you know this road doesn't lead to your dream. You can love them, laugh with them, but you gotta get out of the car when your stop comes. Because your future isn't built by love alone. It's built by matching up. The people you spend time with every day quietly become the builders of your future. They're either planning your future or wrecking it without knowing. So ask yourself today, if I keep hanging with the same 5 people, where will I be 5 years from now? And if that picture doesn't make you excited, maybe it's time to draw it again. You know, one of the hardest parts of growth isn't changing your habits, it's changing your group. Because when you start getting better, people don't cheer first. They question you. They say, bro, you've changed. Of course I did. I was poor, lazy, and mixed up. What do you want me to say? The top seller of bad choices? See, growth looks like betrayal to people who've stopped growing. They take it personal when you start doing better. You wake up early. Oh, now you think you're better than us. You stop gossiping. Oh, he's acting like a holy guy now. No, I'm just tired of repeating the same year over and over. And that's the trap. We keep making ourselves smaller just to fit into groups that no longer fit our dreams. We laugh at jokes that don't make sense anymore, pretend to enjoy talks that drain us just because we don't want to be that guy who changed. But listen closely. Growth always looks lonely before it looks inspiring. When you start getting better, people fade away. But that's not rejection. That's sorting out. The wrong people will slowly go away when the right you shows up. It's like leveling up in a game. You don't lose friends, you just move to a new level. And guess what? Not everyone got the same update. I had a friend once who got serious about fitness, and every time we'd hang out, he'd order grilled chicken and water, and I'd be there with my burger and Coke, trying to look sure like, yeah, bro, I'm building muscle. But deep down, I knew I was just making excuses. After a few weeks, I started eating better, not because he made me, but because I couldn't keep being the only lazy one in the room. That's the magic of a good group. They don't change you by force, they change you by showing the way. They make you level up in a natural way without judging, without pushing too hard. And let's be real, sometimes the people closest to us are not bad, they just don't have the same drive. They're okay where they are, and that's fine. But if you want a different life, you can't keep going at their speed. It's like being in a car with friends going nowhere. They're laughing, music's playing, everyone's relaxed, but deep down, you know this road doesn't lead to your dream. You can love them, laugh with them, but you got to get out of the car when your stop comes, because your future isn't built by love alone. It's built by matching up. The people you spend time with every day quietly become the builders of your future. They're either planning your future or wrecking it without knowing. So choose carefully, because 5 years from now, you'll either say, I made it with my friends, or I would have made it if I had better ones. Your group decides which one that sentence becomes. Thank you for listening, and don't forget to like and subscribe, my friends.